Hi everyone, welcome to Kimber Creations. Okay, as promised, hopefully we can get through this. I'm going to show you how I do my watercoloring with markers. And this is my Tombow, not Tombow, my, oh my goodness, Tim Holtz watercolor pen or brush. And then I'm also using distress markers from Tim Holtz. And then I also have my Tombow markers as well. This is just one way of watercoloring, and you know, I'm by far no pro at this or anything because I've never had any classes or anything, but this is just my take on a watercoloring technique with markers. So I'm going to go ahead and start with her skin. And I guess before I do that, I should tell you, for those that maybe didn't see my last video, this is the watercolor paper that I use from Canson. It's the 140 pound weight, I guess, is the density of it. All I know is it says 140. And then the ink that I use is the India archival ink. I've never had a problem with it. I really like using it, and so that's what I use. So for the skin, I'm using from Tombow number 800, and I'm going to try to keep this video as short as I can. I probably won't go and show you when I add like the glossy accents or Wink of Stella and things like that. I'll just show you kind of the basic technique of what I do. Now, as you can see, I didn't color it completely in as far as the face, and then I just kind of move the brush around. I don't try to get it perfectly, you know, like when you're coloring with, gotta make sure that I have water in here. When you're coloring with markers, it's definitely a different, for me, it's a different way of doing it. And then I go back and I just even, you know, try to smooth out the marker or the color, and then after that area dries, I'll go back and add, you know, more detail to it. But for now, that's just kind of like the base. Okay, then I'm going to take the distress marker, the Twisted Citron, and this is the color that I'm doing for her boots and her dress and then part of her hat. And there again, I just kind of go along the edge. And sometimes I do just one little area at a time, and then sometimes I'll do, okay, like with this, and it's a small enough area that I'll just go ahead and work on the dress all at one time. Now for bigger areas, I would do like a section at a time probably. And then I'm just pulling it from the edge and working inward. And the same with the bottom here. It's small little areas that I'm working with, and as you can see, I keep dabbing off my brush. Sometimes it loads up, builds up the water, so I try to keep that down. Otherwise I keep going back over it you know, and trying to smooth it out and everything. And sometimes I can get the look that I want, you know, the first time around, instead of having to add a whole lot of detail later on. Okay, the same thing with her boots. I'm just going to make them all one color. Now, a lot of times too, with images like this, because they are so cute, and I love paper piecing, it's another relaxing thing that I do. I would definitely be paper piecing this like crazy, just because they're simple enough cuts, and that it would be really, really cute paper pieced. Okay, as you can see, I'm going through again and just swishing the color around. And sometimes I guess I get too much water off, and then sometimes I have too much water on. But it all works out in the end. Okay, now on to her hat. I find with watercoloring versus like using just straight marker, you know, for shading and stuff, sometimes you can get the shading effect without having to add layer upon layer of color. You can just do it by pulling, you know, what you laid down the first go around, if that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense that way. I know what I'm trying to say, but sometimes it doesn't always come out. I'm also going to do her earrings because I totally forgot about that. Now with the earrings, I'm just doing straight marker just to give it more of a bold look to it. And her wings, I'm using tumbled glass, and here I am just barely putting any color on, for the simple fact that I want to add a little bit of color, a touch of color, but not a lot. And you know, I just faintly want to see color on the wings. Plus, with her wings, a lot of times I'll, as I'm doing the last details and stuff, I add Wink of Stella on top of that. So there are the wings. And let's go ahead and do start on her hair. For the base coat, I'm using mustard seed. And kind of like when you're working with Copics or other markers, and you're just, I'm not coloring, for this one I'm not going to color it all in. I'm just adding color here and there, because once again my water will pull all of that together and blend. I try like crazy not to go out of the area you know, where it's over here. But a lot of times with these images, I cut them out anyway. And even though that I have the scan and cut to cut these out, for some reason lately anyway, I just go ahead and stamp it and fussy cut it, you know, after it's all done. And then, let's see, that is the bottom layer. And then, okay, I've used those ones. I'm trying to see my pile here. I went ahead and pulled out some colors that I thought, definitely not using that one. Let's go ahead and do the bag and her apron and just the tip of her hat. For the bag, oh, and this is pumice stone. Really trying to keep this video down for you. Making it just a little bit darker than what I'm going to be doing to the apron. And then you just pull it out. That. And then her apron, a lot of times, or at least the ones that I've worked on lately, I just seem to go to the one side. I don't do the whole, I don't add color to the whole apron edges, just the one side, and that seems to give me enough color and shadowing that I don't have to go back and mess with it later. I did get a little bit on the green. Just trying to pull some of that up a little bit more. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm working my brush back over it just with water and pulling up some of the gray on the edge, scooting it over, I guess. And I know I can probably see it now. Some of you are just screaming through that computer. Don't do it like that. So, and then on the top of her hat, just a tiny little bit. By the time it's done, you probably won't even see it that much anyway. And then I just pull it into the center and leave the center white. Now as we have our, well, I have to do the crosses, and this is candied apple. And there's that. And then I'm going to go ahead, her hair is pretty dry. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of color on top of her hair already, and this is Wild Honey. And just like you do with, or a lot of you that use the Copics, you just kind of, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Flick your color here and there. And I'm sure that, you know, you all have your own way of doing things, and that's fine. That's how we all learn from one another and kind of add our own twist to things. Now for her curls, I'm just kind of going in there here and there. So that is that. And then now what I do is I just start pulling and smoothing out that top color. You'll still see some of the, I try to leave some of the line on there, but I do pull off quite a bit of it and blend it in. And for the most part, she is pretty much done. Oh, well, other than her face, I do like to there is a little bit. Okay. Now for her face, I'm just going to go back in with 850, just kind of on the one side and underneath her bangs. And then also her cheeks a little bit. For her cheeks, I also use, well, that's not coming out. I also use, chalks. The shimmery chalks to I've spread that around, but I think I'm gonna dab off some of that just because I feel like there's this big pool of water sitting on there. So I just kind of, I don't even like really pounce on it, this, just kind of dry it like so. There's a little bit of wetness still, but I think for the most part. Now, we've already gone this long. If you're still with me, this is where I would add glossy accents to the cross on her hat and her bag and her little earrings. Oh, and her boots, of course, just to give them a little bit of shine. For some reason, these crazy boots remind me of rain boots. But every nurse, I guess, dresses differently, has different shoe wear, but it's definitely not the footwear I was thinking of for a nurse. So I have that. And the only other thing before I add to the wings is I do add some Wink of Stella to her wings. Now you could just leave it at that, or you can go ahead, and I like the shiny wings, and I'll show you on the Memory-Dex card. And if you do what I just did, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but I got the glossy accents a little too far on her, excuse me, on her arm where I'd like it. So I just take my razor blade and I put it sideways, and just while it's still wet and able to be moved, I just scoot it off of there. Nobody probably would have ever known that, you know, if you're giving this to somebody, but it bothers me. So anyway, this is what she looks like. And then when her wings dry, they'll shimmer like this one. I don't know if you can see that. So anyway, tried to keep this as short as I could. I thank you for sticking around, and as always, do what you love and love what you do, and we will talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.